This video will be covering a very challenging Part 3 of Blue Zuma. And if we read Part 3, we discover that top management is not happy with the resource-constrained schedule generated at the end of Part 2, and that Robin Lane has promised retailers that production of the new scooters would start on February 1st. And we're asked to come up with some options that are available to the company right now. And when considering options at this point, it's important to consider the priority matrix presented at the beginning of the case on page 553 of your text. And from this we can see that the scope of the project cannot be compromised. The company is not willing to sacrifice quality in order to reduce the duration of the project. And we've established from reading this part of the assignment so far that we need to have the project completed on time. And finally, any costs that are associated with maintaining the scope of the project and keeping the project on schedule, they will be considered. So what options are available right now to meet the new deadline if the project is not resource constrained? We can consider outsourcing, we can consider overtime, we can consider hiring more personnel in order to keep this in order to keep the project on time. And if the options we can consider in order to meet the deadline if the project is resource constrained would be to rearrange the project network so that the critical activities can be done at the same time and becoming parallel activities. This is called fast tracking, and you can learn more about this on page 286 of your text. As seen in table A2.3, we have been given additional personnel to work on specific parts of the project, and we're asked to use only the personnel we need so that we can complete the project on time. The first thing we need to recognize is that in order to shorten the duration of the project, we need to look at the longest activity path, or the longest activity path through the project, which is the critical path. And we can see this better if we look at the network diagram. We are given resources to help us complete the detailed marketing plan, which is towards the end. Oh, right here. The detailed marketing plan, we're given resources to help us complete the detailed product design, which is right here, and we're given resources to help us with installing the production equipment, which is right here. So as we can see, out of all of our options, the only critical activity that we are given additional resources for is installing production equipment. That's the only one that appears to be on the critical path. And this is where this part of the assignment gets really challenging, because Microsoft Project is unable to identify the critical path and make appropriate calculations when the project is resource constrained. So if we look at our other options, detailed product design and detailed marketing plan, we can see that these two activities cannot begin until product design selection has been completed. There is a task dependency. So essentially, these three activities can be being worked on at the same time. So let's see if this is actually happening. If we go to View and we go down to Resource Usage, so what I've done is I've just found the point in the project where the detailed product design has begun. And the detailed, just because it's the first task out of our options that has begun in the project. And let's just highlight those so we can see them better. Let's highlight these. Detailed product design affects the design engineers. Detailed product design affects everybody. So let's go down, highlight them. So in our network diagram, it showed us that the detailed marketing plan could be done at the same time the detailed product design was being done. And as we can see here, that isn't possible because the detailed marketing plan requires 4 marketing specialists. We don't have enough resources. So the detailed marketing plan is going to have to wait to begin until after the detailed product design has been completed, which is fine because a detailed marketing plan is a non-critical activity. It has a lot of slack. The network diagram also showed us that manufacturing process could be being completed at the same time as detailed product design. And as we can see here, the design engineers, we need a design engineer to work on manufacturing process. And we do not have enough resources here. We would here for the development engineers, because we need only 2 development engineers to work on detailed or on manufacturing process. But when we get down here to our industrial engineers, we need 4 industrial engineers to be working on manufacturing process, and we just don't have that. So we're going to have to wait until detailed product design is completed in order to begin manufacturing process. Manufacturing process is a critical activity. So in reality, we have discovered that detailed product design is a critical activity. If we were to shorten it, we would be able to begin manufacturing process sooner. Since manufacturing process is a critical activity, being able to begin the activity sooner would shorten the duration of the project. So in reality, the detailed product design is critical. And this isn't based on task-related dependencies, which Microsoft project recognizes, but this has to do with resource dependencies. So if we go to the end of the detailed product design, we can see here that the manufacturing process can begin as soon as the detailed product design is finished. So now that we have identified another critical activity, we can look back at table A2.3 and compare revised duration estimates and the cost of additional resources for both the detailed product design and installing production equipment. Detailed product design has a duration of 50 days. Let's go back to our Gantt chart so that we can see the original duration. And by adding these resources, we could reduce the activity by 8 days. If we look at installing production equipment, we see that it has a duration of 35 days, and by adding the given resources, we would be able to reduce the activity by 8 days also. So now let's look at cost. Industrial engineers are cheaper than design engineers in this specific case. So let's start by adding these resources to installing production equipment and see what happens. The first thing we want to do is go to our resource sheet, and we want to add another industrial engineer and another development engineer. It seems simple enough that we would be able just to increase our engineers here, but there's a problem in doing it this way. If we look at the fine print under table A2.3, we notice that we don't have the same rate. And these are additional resources that have a different standard rate. So we need to actually bring this back down to 400 and add these in as additional resources and with different standard rates. So what I've done is I've just added another industrial engineer at $80 an hour, and I've added another development engineer at $90 an hour, and I just put an X there to distinguish them and separate them from the other industrial engineers and development engineers that have been assigned to the project. So now we need to go to our Gantt chart and assign these resources. So we go to install production equipment, we go up here to assign resources, and we click on Industrial Engineer X and Develop Engineer X, and we assign them. So now we just need to correct the duration to 27 like it says in table A2.3. And what we see is that we're still not going to be completing the project on time. We're still behind schedule. So now what we can do is attempt to assign the additional resources for the detailed product design. So we go into our resource sheet and we will need a design engineer here. So I've added another design engineer for $100 an hour, and now we need to go back to our Gantt chart, go down to detailed product design, assign resources, and we can kind of move this over a little bit so that we can see what we're doing. And we need a design engineer and an additional development engineer. So here's our development, here's our design, and we will assign those. Close. And this was going to reduce the duration to 42 days. Okay? Now what we've seen, now we look at our duration and our finish and we notice that nothing has changed. And we can, if we go into the resource usage, since there was not a task related dependency between these two activities, which we discovered earlier in this assignment, as we can see here, if we go down to industrial engineers and we go down to detailed product design, we've shortened this activity, but since there's no task related dependency, Microsoft project hasn't changed the start date to manufacturing process. So realistically, manufacturing process can start on this day now, which is July 15th. So now we need to go to our Gantt chart, go to manufacturing process, and start on July 15th. And now we will be able to successfully complete the project in time. So throughout the explanation of this part of the assignment, you should be able to answer question 1 on page 556 of your text. As for question 2, how have these changes affected the sensitivity of the network? Well, we've reduced the number of critical paths to 1 and increased the slack within the non-critical activities. So this has decreased the sensitivity of this particular project. And I want to leave this video with a little note. In this assignment, students were asked to identify critical activities based on resource dependencies and not just on task dependencies. And this is a really important concept, but it is very advanced, and you will most likely not have this expectation on the assignment you've been given in class without some prior instruction and warning. So this completes Blue Zuma Part 3.